Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition, to another installment of hashtag Fade the Black. As you can see, I am not in my usual place that I usually be. I apologize for that for each and every one of y'all, but welcome. So tonight's show is going to be a very unique one, something that we should have been talking about in the show that we sort of talked about with other subjects, but we're going to get down to it right now. I am the only one right now, but like they always say, the show must go on. But first, y'all always know how I do. Let me get ready for the opening statements. Ladies and gentlemen, my opening statements is coming off of Valentine's Day. Hopefully, every single one of y'all gave y'all latest or significant others a little candy. Maybe go out to a restaurant that is open in your area. Wherever you did, I just want to wish y'all late happy Valentine's Day and that that y'all enjoyed yourselves and also that y'all stayed safe. So to talk about this topic, disclaimer. This show is not to hurt or discredit anybody who thinks differently than other black people because there is a stigma in our own community that we don't think alike. You know, that if you think differently, then, or if you talk differently, you're not one of us. For example, for me, I don't like watermelon. I hate watermelon. When I was small, my Uncle Mason, I love him to death, always had me eat watermelon. And still to this day, I hate it. I like the drinks, not the real watermelon, but the flavor. But actual watermelon, I hate. But fried chicken, you can't take that away from me. So for anybody who thinks very differently, this show is definitely for you and for you to be a part of the conversation. But like I said, I just want to throw out that disclaimer. When I say alternate blacks and that you think differently from us, does not mean that you're not part of this community. You are what make this black community so unique that it is. And Teach, she is finally in the house. So I'm going to go ahead and give her the floor for this opening statement.
Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry, my computer was frozen for a moment. But anyway, Nanga Deaf, hello, how are you? Manga Faree, I am fine. These are the words of greeting the exchange for the Wolof speaking people of Senegal and also the Gambia. My opening statement is happiness. Where do you find your happiness? Do you find it inside of yourself? Do you look for it in other people? Do you look for it in your achievements? Do you look for it in your relationships with your coworkers, through your family? Happiness comes from within. And wherever you are in life, you can have happiness if you are happy yourself within. So I tell anyone, everyone, go get your happiness. It's inside of you. Nurture it and bring it up. And when you begin to emanate happiness, you'll find happiness all around you. So be happy. As the songwriter says, don't worry, be happy. And that's my opening statement. Let's have a happy time in this podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, she came. She showed up. Teach, how you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Anita Joke, aka Teach. She is here. The champ is here.
I apologize. I was waiting for the signal, and for whatever reason, I didn't hear it. And I just so happened looked at my phone, realizing that it was, close to time.
Mhm.
And, I chimed on in. So I'm sorry. I don't know,
Teach
technical difficulties.
and teach, like you tell me. You don't have to apologize. We here and we're gonna jump into this. So we in our past topics on the show, we dabbled on this topic, and I think thanks to Mayo, who's going to be coming in a little bit later, he talked about it kind of on the show, the last show on Friday, and I said, you know what, let's go ahead and talk about this. The famous phrase "alternative facts." Now we got alternative blacks. Earlier today, I was going through my Amazon Prime. I was looking at different videos. Like when you get a video, you got the related or what they call it, like recommended list. They
Hmm.
had this recommended list for Uncle Tom. So I looked at it, and it yeah, the same look that I had. It was basically all the conservative right blacks that I saw a trail. Like you had people like Candace Owens, you had people like Brandon Tatum, you had people who with that same ideology, explaining, they look at me like this, but this is how I think, this is how I believe, but they don't realize that they're hurting themselves and da 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 da. I already did a disclaimer in my opening statements on this topic, and what do you think about black people that thinks differently? And what I mean by thinking differently, not just politically, but what our stereotype has been accustomed to us, rap music, fried chicken, watermelon, grape soda, all that. So what do you think about black folks that don't generally who stay away? I don't want to say stay away, but just don't fall under those stereotypes.
Well, one, um, we are a diverse people, and we don't all like the same things. We're not going to be, we're all not gravitating towards the same thing. And it's a great misnomer to believe that all black people are this way or all black people are that way. That is a common myth. We do have some common traits that we share and some common likes and some common bonds, but we are not all alike, and we do not all have the same like, and we don't have to have the same um, mind,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which when we talk about unity, black unity, racial unity, uh, there's another phrase that undercuts that, or not undercuts, but serves as a basis, is that unity without conformity. If we all had the exact same taste, the exact same mind, the exact same thought, we will be stuck and stagnant as a people.
Mm-hmm.
uh, we can be unified without conformity. We do not have to be the same. And that is one of the reasons why I love to travel outside of my community, outside of my nation, because when you go to various countries, various communities, you'll see the difference being played out in each specific culture. And one of the beauties about African culture, or what they call ATR or WATR, which is West African traditional religion, which we use the word more spirituality than the word religion, is that the traditional Africans had respect for one another's culture. So if I'm of this ethnic group and our holy day is on Tuesday, the next ethnic group over, they respect that our holy day is Tuesday and their holy day may be Friday. We don't try to impose, well, our way of worship is the greatest way, and our God is the biggest God and the greatest God. So you should bow down and worship the God that created me. And so when you have an opportunity to be thrust into those environments, you see how the world plays out in a totally different way, in a way of respect. So it's only here in the United States that you get this monolithic paintbrush to say all blacks are this way, all blacks should think this way. Where I have a problem with blacks that do think so far different is when that black thinking is detrimental to that community, when
Right.
those thoughts are against the advancement of the black race or the
Yeah.
black genius or the black intelligentsia. That's when there's a problem. There's no problem with difference in opinions and difference of thoughts. We honor diversity. We push, and we even created diversity in this nation. But when that one would lead out and his thoughts are anti self, that's where the problem comes in.
Yeah, and the thing is also that really gets me with black folks that thinks differently. They want to use that as an example for why they believe the things that they believe, and I think that's a very, to me, that's a very weak argument because there have been times where people looked at me very crazy. My own folks look at me crazy because I make it evident on this show. I'm a big NASCAR fan, and they look at me like, hey man, a lot of white folk is in that series. A lot of white people in there. There's no black people that's in NASCAR, but they actually don't look at the history and know that it was a man by the name of Wendell Scott who was in the series, who actually won a race. And yes, he did dealt with racism, but then he opened the doors for people like Willie T. Ribbs and Bill Lester, who actually got a book that's out. I'm gonna see if I can try to get him on the show so he can explain that. See, because it goes back to what you're saying, Chief. I think we put ourselves in the box per se because this is how we shape ourselves to be as black folks. We gotta get the Tims. We gotta at least have either a Kobe or a LeBron or an MJ jersey. We either gotta drive a box Chevy. We gotta listen to hip hop music. We gotta know how to play football. We gotta know how to play football. Gotta know how to play basketball or spades. And you know how people spades, tonk. What's that other? What's another game that people
Big
like to play?
West,
Big
Big
Wiz,
West,
and then bones. So if you have anybody,
dominoes.
yeah, and dominoes, anybody that sit there and say, "No, I don't want to play any of those," they will look at them crazy. We put ourselves in the box. Like I literally had somebody like, "Man, you ain't black." I'm like, "Why I'm not black?" Man, you telling me you don't like spades? And I'd be like, the reason why I don't like spades is not like I don't like to play. Number one, people play spades differently. You got some people that, then you get partnered with somebody that take the game aggressively when I play the game on like I use strategy. I'm not gonna throw my spades out already. I'm gonna hold them. You got people that's like put your spades out now and all that, and seeing that's where the breakdown comes in. So what do you think will break down the the barriers here in America where we can accept people, not accept people, accept our own when they don't fall into the criteria that the stereotypes has portrayed us to be? Because not every black person is going to like basketball. They probably going to like classical music. Not everybody's going to like fried chicken. They like baked chicken. How can where when can we not frown upon those that are like that?
Well, I don't know about when, but it takes a person to understand that we're all different and we all bring something different to the table. And it's about accepting people and allowing people to be who they are and loving people where they are at as opposed to where you think they should be. And that's a
Right,
very, very broad lesson for everyone in every type of relationship.
right.
I think slavery and racism and oppression in America keeps that mentality that only certain characteristics are black. Like, for instance, language. If you speak proper grammar, if you
Mm,
subjugate your verbs, if you make distinctions in your sentences with subject verb agreement, then you're categorized as speaking white. Well, it's not
mhm,
speaking white, it's simply speaking English or mastering the English language. Now, the English language is originally a European language, yes, and you master that language. That's all that you're doing. You're not trying to imitate the people that originated it, but you're perfecting the language in order to communicate. Now, if you listen closely, to various regions of America, you'll find that even some white people, depending on which ethnic group that they originate from, they have certain idioms within the English language that are not quote unquote correct, that would actually fall up under slang. But because you are black and non white, you take all white speakers as speaking the language correctly. And that is a great misnomer. They do not all speak correct or proper English. So when you say you speak white, what exactly do you mean? Are you saying that I subjugate my verbs properly, that I have subject and verb agreement? that I know how to use nouns, pronouns, adjectives, verbs, adverbs, adverbial phrases, gerund phrases correctly,
Mhm. or
then you're
or
saying I have simply mastered the language. And
uh,
not all people can master the language, even if they are born, quote unquote, of that origin, depending on which geographical region they live in the United States. They may speak slang,
mhm.
but you'll never see that pointed out.
And see, then also you can combat them and be like, were you paying attention in your English class? Did you give your English teacher a hard time? you know, I mean, while you sitting there getting on somebody for actually speaking proper English, what were you doing in English class? These are the things you have to ask yourself. These are things you gotta sit there and say, I'm criticizing somebody for actually paying attention in class, who actually got maybe not stellar grades, but a passing grade. Did you pass the class with a D? I mean, I mean, the things where people try to get on people and don't realize that you making yourself look stupid it blows my mind. But let me get Beast on up in here. Welcome to the show,
All right.
Beast.
Well,
uh,
sorry,
so,
apologies for my lateness. So I'm just
uh,
listening.
all right, so Beast. So let me go ahead and bring you in on this part because you are on that. For me, you're on that borderline of I'm hood, I'm all about the streets. And then you're on the other side where I could talk to you eloquently, proper English when I need to be. And there's a lot, and people don't understand, there's a lot of street cats like yourself out there where when they
Yeah.
look at you, they think of you, oh, he probably gonna jack my car. Oh, he probably sling a couple dope. He probably got bricks at the house right now. He probably got you know, a rap sheet as long as my arm, but not understand that you are an independent rapper. Not only an independent rapper, you're a writer. You also juggling multiple jobs, and also you're a panelist on the show to help out black and talk about black issues and find solutions. What do you say about those people that put brothers like you and sisters in a box like you?
A, quit trying to label folk because you're not gonna like the label you get. Secondly, eh, the only thing that's truly fluid in life is change and transition. The label you had when you were 7 don't apply when you turn 17, nor when you hit 37. And you talk about like the people like me, we coined a term. In 7th grade, I was told I'm a nerd thug by the actual street boys. It's like, yo, you a nerd thug. And I was like, what is, because you smart as hell, but you quick to fight somebody. Like you look like a nerd. You take nerd classes, but you'll jump in on the fight real quick. You'll throw hands with people. Yeah, because I was raised in the projects. It's either fight or be the bitch. Nah, I'm good with that.
I mean,
You know
that's
that whole
yeah.
yeah that whole kind of, that's just a survival tactic. You know, people like me that run that are that balance. We were the ones that we were told to acknowledge where we are, but know that we can be better. So just because you in the projects, just because you in the hood, don't mean you have to carry yourself like that.
That's
They may
true.
say that you live in a bad neighborhood. One of the craziest things that ever happened to me growing up was one of the former hoods in my city is now destroyed, gentrified. But at one point, we used to call it the Grove. Grove was the worst part of any city. It was like Chirac. It was like Brooklyn. They take the worst part of your city. That was the Grove. The Grove was so bad that as a 4-year-old little boy, I went outside to go to the store, and one of the street niggas stopped me and was like, "Who are you?"
Oh wow.
Yeah, because I didn't live there. My cousins lived there at the time. So he G-checked me, and I told him who I was and who my cousins were. And he proceeded to walk me back to my aunt's house, cuss her out. Yeah, because he was like, why the hell you got this little boy walking through this neighborhood? You know these folk crazy over here. You could have took your ass to the store. You ain't had to send that boy.
Oh, wow.
So now I'm going to go to the store for y'all, so you ain't got to send these kids out here. Because you know these niggas out here acting foolish right now. But when you see this dude, you saw him, he looked like he just got through knocking a couple dudes out for the most trivial of things. Yeah, he turned out to be like the big brother to me unbeknowingly. Because had I seen him on the street any other day, I'd probably been scared, and I was scared at that time. Because I'm thinking this dude gonna beat me up, But he showed me genuine love and sincerity and actually gave a fuck about my safety. He didn't know who I was. He just knew I was a child in an environment that was not conducive to a child's safety.
That's cool, man. That's and I want you to go back to the part of the survival, of you using proper English, being eloquent when you need to be. People don't understand that is that is a survival technique that us as Black folks have to do. And we're not just talking about a job interview. Also, and teach you
Just life.
probably, yeah. And Peach, you could probably contest to this too. The famous when a group of Black folks are around each other and they talking about white folks, talking about how we already know this is white supremacy or typical like man, they gotta have all their people up in there. And then when that one white person going by, everybody get quiet. They get quiet or they talk about something else real quick until either that one white person or that group of white people leaves, and then all of a sudden it's like back to talking what we was talking about earlier. But stress on that one, and Teach, you can jump anytime you want to on that. This is a survival technique 101.
Yes. It goes back to the whole the big issue that we grew up with was names. You had to have a proper name, a name that didn't let people know your ethnicity immediately. It's okay to have pride in who you were. It's okay to acknowledge your heritage. But living in America, they don't give a fuck about that. So you have to make yourself as presentable as possible in spite of everything else. So it was always stressed upon me as a child to use your words because the other kids don't want to. It's going to make you stand out. It's going to make you seem different. Growing up, it also showed me that I could maneuver situations a lot easier because I knew exactly what to say. So as opposed to like for the nerd thug survival technique, by me being perceived as a smart kid by not just my peers, but also my teachers, when it came time for a peer intervention, my little gimmick was if you was my homeboy down there and you got in a fight with somebody, I would jump in, hold the other dude down. I let you get off a couple shots. By the time the teachers come by, I'm still holding him down, and I just get in between y'all like, break up the fight. Yo, y'all chill. No matter what the kids say, they could say Alex jumped in the fight. Alex was holding him down. They was jumping him. Alex isn't a violent kid. Alex takes honor classes. Alex has an AB honor roll grade point average. He's in the choir. He's in the chorus. He doesn't play sports. He doesn't show any violent tendencies. Meanwhile, you and me looking at each other like, my nigga.
Yeah, basically.
And I'm defending you.
Yeah.
You know, that's that whole survival technique that you got to learn how to play that game. When you out here, everybody's already looking at you a specific way.
Hmm.
It's your duty to change that with something as simple as how you carry yourself and how you
Hmm.
conduct yourself.
Well, one thing, and then I'm gonna let Chief jump in. The one thing that I hate in the military, but is kind of unfortunately is true, even in the real world, is their perception is your reality. I never got that saying, but I understand where it's coming from. Because of that beast, because of, like for myself, I think I carry myself pretty well. I serve in the military, I treat everybody with the utmost respect, even though sometimes I think I give people too much respect that they can say whatever they want to me. But that's a different story. Because
Exactly.
if I, let's say, if I done something wrong, and somebody's like coming at me that don't even know me from Adam, they just know that I made a mistake, and it's happening to them, and it involves them. They're gonna go to the people that I work with. They're gonna be like, well, Morris is not that type to make a mistake, but if he did, I know that he's gonna correct it. I know that he's gonna fix it. For you to sit
Mm-hmm.
there and go off on him like that and just think that we should throw the book at him. He hasn't given me any reasons why, even in the past. And that's like you said, it's like a two-edged, what they call it, two-edged sword. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like it can be there when you need it, but then also it could be a downfall too, because a lot of people don't want to be perceived like that either, because once
Nah,
again, it
it's not that. The whole thing about double-edged weapon, like double-edged weapons, is a certain level of mastering because you have to be able to. I have to be able to attack you while defending against you and moving in a manner to where that other bladed side that's not being used in defense and offense isn't being used against me.
right, and
So I
and
have
like
to
I
be
said,
able to maneuver myself out of danger of whatever I'm throwing
right,
at you with that
right,
double edged weapon.
and then once again that brings back the survival technique, because I see
Mm-hmm.
this in like I just you saying all that remind me of that part in Rosewood where that one guy, he was the if I can remember correctly, he was the guy that was doing the shoes for the horses. And he had that one white dude who left the town to actually rape the wife of the white guy. They found out it was him that gave the dude a horse. And he was like, I'm a mason. I'm a mason just like you. And everybody just went at him. And he thought him being a mason, and the white mob who was masons too, he thought like, hey, I did all this for you. I even push brand new shoe on your horse. We're masons. You gotta believe me. And all that's out the door.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to everything, Cheese, you was about to say something. I'm sorry, I ain't meant to go on that far, but
No, that's fine. First, we're talking about code switching. And this is a system of communication that our people have engaged in um, during slavery, after slavery, and even until this day. So you gauge your conversation based upon who your audience is. Who are you speaking to? And that's the code that you utilize because those people understand, what you're saying. And sometimes you have to say things in front of other people that may not know the code or understand the code, but you can carry on your conversation right in front of them as if it was a foreign language, with the idea that they are not going to understand what you're saying. And it's necessary for your survival. You have to know, it's like doing a dance. You have to know which way to move, how to be agile, how to quickly change any given moment, because you may be presented in a situation at any given time. So code switching is something that we kind of know inherently as we grow up in our neighborhoods and go out into the world, into the workplace, into school and other communities. We learn how to code switch, how to turn on and off that conversation, the body posture, even when we're in different places and different spaces with different people. And then I want to say to Beast, regarding his upbringing in when he went to visit his aunt. At first, I was scared as you were telling the story, but then I
This
became relieved that this individual, and this is something that my mother used to talk about, but I never experienced, having that close knit neighborhood where everybody knew everybody in and out of
Mhm.
that neighborhood, and they were able to clearly identify you as a stranger, and he established who you were and walked you back to your aunt's house. And because of the neighborhood, he explained, and I'll go to the store, I'll do this because it's not safe. And it reminded me of the group one, the Black Panthers. The Black Panthers used to police their own neighborhood. They policed the police. And so that gentleman probably, came up in that era where we watched out for our own. And for me, when I hear stories like that, it's kind of nostalgic, even though I never personally experienced it. My mother tell me stories of how basically the men ran the blocks. And she tells the story in that, a gentleman from another block wanted to date her, and the men on the block ran him off
Oh,
because
dang.
because
we
they
don't know
consider,
you.
right, the women on this block is for us. So basically, when I'm listening to that story, I think about the stories that she has told me of how the community policed itself. And I live in a neighborhood where we really don't know our neighbors. There's people watching out for the neighborhood, but we don't know those people because they're dealing in activities that we won't associate ourselves with.
Right.
But
And
those are the
but
main
for
ones you
general,
need nowadays. Like those, when it come
Mhm.
when something hit the fan or something ain't right in the neighborhood, you don't want to go
hmm
to a person like me that yeah, I'm a good neighbor, I'm helpful, but I work two jobs. I'm hardly ever home. I don't know what's
hmm
going on in the hood.
And see, and
right,
this will,
You
and,
go talk to the brother
and
that don't work or that hustle. Talk to the mechanic that fix everybody's car in the neighborhood, so he there every day. Them the folk that you want to engage with. Them the folk that you really want to make sure you're on good terms with,
right,
because they keep an eye on everything.
and see, the funny thing is, but then you got. I want to blame everything on media. I'm probably gonna sound like a coon that say that.
No,
I want to blame. I
no,
don't want
because
to blame.
let's be straight though. Let's before you go, let's be clear. When we speak on media on the show, we're not just speaking about TV. We're not just speaking about radio. We're speaking about all forms of interactive entertainment.
I'm happy that you brought that point out, but we can't blame all of media if you're not out there creating a solution. So I want to make that point
Mm-hmm.
out there. But you do got media that portrays us like every time we hear gangs, you hear you think the first thing that pop in your mind, you think of drugs, you think of cartels, you think of lots of guns, lots of violence. But back in the day, gangs wasn't like that. It goes
Gang was
along
just
the
that.
yeah,
It was
it
just
goes
a gang of
along
people.
right. It goes along with what you was talking about, what Teach was talking about. It's all about defending that community. If you were somebody that they don't recognize or see every day, they have every right to ask the question, who in the blue bloody hell are you? You
Hey,
know?
cuz.
Right. And then if there's another gang that's coming into another territory, they would have the respect to be like, who's the man here? You know, Who's the leader of this of the Crips? Who's the leader of the Bloods? Who's the leader of the MS-13s? Yes, I did say MS-13s. Who's your leader? I want to talk to him or her. That's what you call mutual respect, because it could be something that they be like, hey, we want to work together with you on something like, you know, a fair, or let's do something to help both our communities, or you got somebody that's in our community that we're looking for.
It could be something
And
as simple as, it's my people's birthday. We're going over here to kick with the fam. But, we know how it's gonna look.
and that's and see, and that's when I'm gonna throw something else up in the mix too. When people always say, well, if you got trouble, y'all sit there and want to defund the police, and if you don't have the police and you call them, then what? And I'm like, no, it don't work that way. That's something that you've been conditioned to think, that we always need the cops. When that
Like,
back in the
number
day,
one, black
you
folk
didn't
ain't
need
never,
it.
never black folk never had need the cops.
No,
Black
don't need
folk
the
only
cops.
call the cops. We only call the cops when we ourselves are in a situation that tells us, if I respond, I'm gonna need a lawyer. So
Right,
let me
but
call the cops before they called on me.
right, and see, this is when the OGs come in. You would call you would be like, let me call Big Mo. Big Mo gonna
Hmm.
sell this. Like Big Mo gonna come over there with his posse, and he's gonna be like, yo, what's up? I'm about to whip old buddy's ass over there. Go over there and talk to him, or you work something out. And usually, majority of the times, he will go over there, say his piece, and he gonna be like, yo, stop coming at my man's like this. Or he will bring them both together. Y'all both acting like asses. Y'all shake hands, or I won't say shake hands, but like, get this sucker straight, or I'ma straighten it out myself.
Man
You
up or
ain't need
knuckle
no
up.
cops, right? You ain't need no cops, because
Mm.
everything was handled in house. That's one of the biggest things also of the military. Before it goes up higher, if we cannot deal with it on a lower level, then we let the head honchos know. But until then, if it's something that we can handle at our level, we're gonna keep it at our level. We're gonna solve it at our level, and both parties is gonna love it or like it. Hear that? And that you didn't hear that wrong. You're gonna love it or you're gonna like it. Period.
Hmm.
And you keep moving. Police was never needed up in the hood, because everybody knows when you bring the police up in there, it's gonna make it all nasty. It's gonna make it all funky. It gonna be made
It's
into
gonna
something
kill the
that
mood.
is not. Yeah, it's gonna make it into something that's not, and gonna be like, see, because back in the day, look at those darkies. I told you. Look at them. They just run rapid. They burn down their own neighborhoods and businesses and all that stuff. Look, and
And
that
then
way,
two, when you got folk, when you already know where a person's mind is at, when you already have a strong understanding of their mentality and the psychology behind it, yeah, you're not gonna put yourself in certain situations where they'll be involved. Like if dealing with a girl and I find out she's possessive and jealous and extra with it, why am I gonna put myself in a situation that would give her just cause to feed into that?
yeah,
Same in with the police. If I know the bulk of the police is some racist, bigoted assholes that's just looking for a breath of air as an excuse to beat on me, I'm gonna make sure y'all nowhere near me at all. We handling this in house.
right. And that's how it's supposed to go. It's just like, I remember Teach was talking about, when we were talking about politics and saying we need to work within our own, like I said, work within the system so we can change it. And Teach brought up a great point. Politics starts in the home. It starts at the dinner table. This is the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It started in our community. We deal with it in our community, and it would end in our community, because if it goes out there, it's become a big ass social media storm of, and living up to that social, stereotype of, this is how black people is. We're animals. We
Too many,
can't function right and
too
all
many
that.
eyes,
Mm-hmm.
too many
I,
eyes.
I
Everybody
truly
got hustles going on. Go ahead, teach.
Yeah.
I truly believe that in terms of our culture and the way we handle things, it has been misplaced and destroyed to the point that we don't have our core as we should. And many of the things that you all are speaking about when you talk about Big Mo or this group to help settle problems within our community, that used to be relegated to the council of elders in the community. If
Mhm.
you talk to any African, they'll tell you that they have a council of elders before they go to the police or the law or any outside faction. You go to the elders, you sit down and have a meeting with the elders and say, this is our problem, and the elders will give you a solution to that problem. And so because of our system, that system has been displaced from us. And we've created substitute systems, but it's not unilateral. It is not consistent in every household, in every community. And this is some of the great cultural traits that we can benefit from if we would consciously pull that back into our lives and pull it back around that dinner table. Um, um, how could I say this? In being Black in America, we lost a lot of our own innate governing system or our cultural governing systems, and um, we're shy or maybe ignorant. And when I say ignorant, I don't mean it in a negative way. I just mean it in the terms of the lack of knowledge that this is something that we should have in place in our communities. Uh, I strongly believe that we give way to popularism. We give
Right.
way to what um, is popular, what is perceived as prestigious, what is perceived as having made it, or some form of status, which for me is artificial. For a person to say, "Oh, I can afford some Air Jordans and I have like 25 pair of them," that's artificial. Those same Jordans, do you even have a house?
Mhm.
Do you even own a car? Do you own any land? But you can brag about some shoes that once you walk in them one time, they're ruined.
Mhm.
So it has a depreciating value. Can you take your money and put it into something that will appreciate over time, that you can leave as a legacy? So to have rooms full of shoes, can you leave that to the next person, to your next generation? Is that something even legacy building? So we get caught up on material things, um, purses and
Hmm.
wallets by a designer label. And the only thing that does is, for me, it says that you want somebody else's name on your body to make other people feel good about you. No, feeling good about you comes from within you. And you can wear no name, or not, you can wear what you want. If you had the money to afford it, so well, so good. But you don't have to let it be, oh, I have Jordan, so I'm somebody. No, that doesn't make you anybody. Most times, if you live in a cold climate, you need some shoes on your feet. So whether they're cheap or expensive, you need some shoes. Like that
Mhm.
snowstorm that's coming, you need some shoes on your feet if you're
Right.
going to go out there. For me, that's the only value, to protect your feet. And of course,
Hmm.
for women to look good. But my point is, when you overvalue an item that's tied to your sense of prestige or your sense of self, then you're out of balance with yourself. You're out of balance with what life is. Because at the end of the day, even when they bury you, they're only gonna bury you with that one pair of shoes on.
hmm and
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 there ain't gonna be no Nike.
no, and I want to end on this point, this side of the topic because it's the top of the hour. Is a lot of young soldiers, including the battle buddy of mine, uh, Beach Johnson knows him. He he did the wrong thing and got a card that was out of his price range because he got to this what's it called, pay here buy here pay here type of
Yeah.
dealership, and come to find out he had hella payments. And I'm like, dude, do you even have any food for just going to the little 7-Eleven and get some, even though Fort Campbell didn't have 7-Elevens, but I think it was like a little Sue's and stuff. And he was like, nope. And you still
Then
got soldiers out there that get these nice pricey cars and can't even afford it, can't even get them a brand new uniform, can't even get like brand new clothes on their back
y'all, y'all,
that can go beyond their means.
y'all
And
y'all
it's
forget this is America, and this whole keeping up with the Johnsons, fake it till you make it, has become an industry unto itself.
mhm,
Greensboro has a location called Rent to Roll, where you can rent designer rims for your car
ain't that something?
overnight, for the weekend, by the week. Doesn't matter. I see cats down here all the time, especially around homecoming concerts. They'll go take that old nasty 87 box Chevy and go put some 2019 spokes on them. Can't pay rent, can't eat or drink the whole weekend. They borrow money from everybody else or driving everybody else so they'll pay their way.
Mhm,
But they look good.
mhm. Peter, Pan, Paul. But let's go ahead and
Mhm.
get to these commercials and get back to our corners, and we be right back. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, please do not forget to follow, to subscribe to hashtag Fade Black. Don't forget to go like our Facebook page. Also, don't forget, enjoy the show. Also, share it out to everybody. Share it out to all your loved ones. Share it out to your friends, even your friends who got opposing views of the show. We still want them to watch. Once again, don't forget to go like our page, like, subscribe, and follow. Hashtag Fade the
Also,
Black page.
send it to a racist. If
Oh
you know
yes,
any
most definitely.
racist people, out there, I mean, good old Karens.
Mm.
Send this to them.
Oh, don't worry. It's been a lot of them coming on our YouTube channel. I just want to throw that out there. So
Oh,
now
I
we talked
know.
about so now we talked about the stereotype, typical side of black folks. Now let's go into the other side of self-hate. The ones that always spit out the talking point of pick yourself up by your own bootstraps. You on a Democratic plantation. The
I
ones
am
that
Al
always,
Robinsons.
the ones that says why your pants. Well, I do agree with this one. Why your pants all sagging? It's all hip hop music's fault.
No,
What?
that's actually prison system.
Mhm.
Saget. I come from the prison
Mhm.
system.
What do you guys say about those ones where you can be like, "Hey man, can you give me a hand?" and they look back at you. Why don't you just get a job? What do you have to say about those black folks?
Um, Usually my first response is, okay, screw you, coon. But seriously, to those individuals, I just have a lot of just sadness in my heart for them. It's like you looked into the mirror, you didn't like what you saw, but you weren't brave enough to at least admit it to yourself. So you just run around all these different excuses. Not just because we as black people can come together. We don't agree on everything, but we can agree on the things that involve everyone. We can all agree the sky is blue because the sky involves everyone. We can all agree that water is clear. Everybody got to drink water at some point. Regardless of whether you like water or not, that's your person. But we're not asking you whether you like water or not. We're asking you, does everybody at least need to drink some water a day? Well, that's what I think when I hear those type of people. I'm not asking you personally as a singular black person. I'm asking you in general as a black person that can easily get harassed or easily not come back home. I'm asking this of you, and when they respond like that, it's just like I said, it just fills me with sadness because like you don't know, you're so far gone and so far lost, you haven't even realized that you've lost yourself.
What about you, Teach?
Well, I think that depending on the person's lifestyle, they may, in fact, do need to get a job and
Right.
or get some type of business. Um, One thing about slavery with black folks is that everybody had a job. As soon as they were two or
Mm-hmm.
3 years old, they were running little errands, getting water, whatever have you, until they were old and retired or old and couldn't work anymore. From cradle to grave, black people worked. So, unfortunately, it was not for pay. So, when you have individuals that's 25, 26, 36, 40, and don't have a job, not looking for a job, yeah, the response is go get a job
Mm-hmm. Now, in
because
that
it
regard,
is,
I agree
Mhm.
completely.
Yeah.
and because everyone has to be responsible for their own life.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's bad advice. I think that's excellent advice. Um, Another thing too, I feel like some people may not understand life and understand their place or their role in life. And that's why they can't seem to work or they don't know how to direct themselves. They are misdirected, misguided individuals. So I think um, go get a job may be blunt, but basically what that person is saying, go get your life. Go get your life and make your life be what it be. Um, what we On the premise of the question, that person needs something, they're asking for something, and they say go get a job. Now we know no matter what income bracket you're in, from the richest to the poorest person, there are times that financially you need help. They have banks that and financiers that are available for loans. Why do people get loans? Because they don't have the money. So if I'm a
Sometimes stuff
billionaire
happens.
and I need to have some liquid cash, I may go get the loan or I mortgage my
Mm-hmm.
properties. I'm doing something because my my cash is short. So asking for money has no barrier to your level of wealth or lack of wealth. So So we have to understand that. But if you're in a lifestyle where you just don't work, you never have it, you're living on your mother, your grandmother, your grandfather, grandparents, or your loved one, what they call what sexual, they get relationships just so they can have a place to stay.
Oh no, that's
Uh,
homosexuals.
Oh.
okay,
Sample
okay,
section is
and
one about the things like intelligence.
right, okay, you're right, you're exactly right, and so yes, go get a job, all hands on deck. But what they're really saying is go get your life, analyze who you are, what skills do you have, what can you do to put yourself in a position that you don't have to be asking for bus fare every week. You don't have to ask for gas money every week. You don't have to bounce around from one relative house at dinner time just so you can eat. Some people have created a lifestyle of that. I
Yeah.
know people that do just that, and that's their livelihood. They go from relative to relative house, friend. Oh, what you cooking for dinner?
Mhm.
Oh, that sounds good. Can I swoop by? Yeah, girl, come on and get a plate or whatever. And I know another lady. She works a full-time job and makes good money, but she lives in her car. And the reason why she lives in her car is because she does not like to pay rent. And on the outside, you can like, oh, I feel so sorry for her. She's homeless, blah, 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 blah. But if you sit and talk to her, she'll tell you she gave up her place because she want to take that money and do other things with it. And paying rent was interfering with her lifestyle. So we have to
Question.
understand where people are at. And they may not be homeless because life is frowned down upon them. They may be homeless because they just simply don't like to pay rent, and they okay with their lifestyle. Beast.
Um, yeah, yeah. Because when you said that, the first question popped in my head was, Heifer, why didn't you buy an RV?
Or freaking what's another thing they could buy? I
Hey,
mean,
I
stay
done
at a
seen
hotel.
look here.
You gotta
I done
take a
seen some
shower
RVs now.
sometimes. Hotel.
I done seen no RVs got showers. They got their own little fuel tanks in them, and for a third
Or your own
of
mobile home.
RVs are not for styling and profiling. She has a Mercedes Benz, okay, and she gets a new model every 2 years. RV is
but you
not
sleeping
styling and
in
profiling.
That's
it. But
So she
crazy.
you
wants to style and
okay.
profile.
And see, but this one I'm about to get you with because see, I used to work for the Coliseum and I actually worked during one of those RV events. So I got to go in there and see what the RVs is really about.
Yeah, they nice. They're
It,
nice.
no. See, back in the 90s, they was nice. Now, these things is baller. I saw
Now
Yes.
one that is the
you got the
price.
extender.
No,
Yeah.
no. Here's the thing. For the price of the Benz that her friend is talking about, she could get a mid-size, and I'm being respectful, a mid-size RV that's big enough to comfortably hold about 5 people. And as soon as you walk in, it has its own little step stool into a den. The
I've seen
car
them.
has a the car has a den with a fireplace. I looked in there and I expected to see some white daddy smoking a cigar like it was 1950s. Like, oh hi son, back from school already? That's how it looked. This was in an RV.
All right.
So when I hear that type of foolishness, like okay, I can respect that. Go and get on your hustle, but you just want to show off,
Yeah.
and you got a
Show off.
Benz, but you still sleeping in a car. They don't make Benz trucks big enough for you to live
But
comfortably
see,
in. You want that
but
Benz
see,
car.
when she goes out to party, she wants people to see the car. That's all that matters to her is how she appears in other people's eyes. And
Half
unless you know her story, you don't know that she's homeless.
Right.
So, and
But
that's what I'm saying. People living in a false state
yeah.
of mind
That
seeking
is the
approval of outsiders when it means nothing.
All right.
I much rather have a nice, comfortable
no.
bed.
Yeah.
It's funny. T said this reminds me of the book Ghetto America. Faking it till you make it. I would
Mhm.
rather sleep on the floor in the foyer of my $3.5 million house on a $65 air mattress. But I got a Benz this year, 3.5 CSL. I got that. But I'm still eating dollar pack of noodles. I'm still only eating food from the dollar stores, not Family Dollar, dollar stores.
Right.
All right. So to pivot back to the topic because you kind of got off topic. All right.
Nigga,
We got off the so we talked about to get a job part. Now, what about we are our own worst enemy? For the black folks that always say we have become our own worst enemy, and for some reason nowadays, I'm kind of agreeing with that point. What would you say for our own that says that?
there's truth to it, but it's not
It's
the whole
true.
truth.
It is truth to it. We are our own enemies when we practice self hatred and we're in a position of leadership and influence where other people can buy into your self hatred paradigm. Um, it's tragic because these people have aligned themselves with oppressive mentalities or mentalities of the oppressor.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't see themselves as black people anymore because they have surrounded themselves with white people. And this is what I'm talking about. When you get to quote unquote where you think you are successful, you became successful as a black person. You do not have to sell your soul and go against the core value of who you are to please other races for your status. That is false because at the end of the day, like we seen in the case of Herman Cain, when he died a tragic death over the COVID, not one Republican even mentioned his passing.
That
Not
is
one
true.
gave him a decent memorial of, he was the former president of the Republican National Party and he made strides in the party. They didn't say anything. He was just dead.
No,
And his
because he
family
was just
buried
another
him, and
one.
that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. And so, you know, people think that once you quote unquote are accepted in certain circles that you can just take a bath and wash off your blackness. No, it stays with you until you go to the grave. It stays with you.
Mm-hmm. What about you,
Yeah.
Beast?
To those folks, we are our own worst enemy. Well, like the old adage, we're our greatest ally and our weakest link because we have all this true power. We have this divine connection to the source, but we have forgotten. We're like the Uber boss or the Uber OP character in your favorite action show or anime, but we've gotten amnesia. We forgot that we were these great nation. We forgot the true length and depths of our worthiness and our godliness on earth. So because we've forgotten it and we're at this point now where we're trying to wake up, you got some folk that never believed it at all. They just believe what was in front of them. They quote unquote don't believe the hype. They are the people that characterize that our worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Because when it comes to us, we all look alike. We always hear from every other race, all black folk look alike. Well, to black folk, we know we don't look alike, but we kind of feel like we all do think alike. So it always hurts us when we run across somebody that we look at as like they part of the cause. They understand. And then they open their mouth and they removed all doubt that they don't. Now we're befuddled and perplexed. We trying to run back and figure out what's going on. And now we're looking at everybody cross-eyed because I've known you 17, 18 years, and in 18 seconds, I just realized you've been a racist your whole life. Now I got to go back and look at everybody else I've known that same amount of time or longer, and I got to give all them the side eye.
Yeah. And
Well, back in the
from
day,
yeah,
people
go
were
ahead.
called Oreos. They were black on the
Right.
outside and white on the inside.
Now we just
And
call them snack cakes because we don't know what skin tone you is. You either Oreo, Twinkie, anything cream filled.
like to welcome Mayo on the show, but this is actually a perfect setup for Mayo for the message that he sent. So, but I'm gonna give my thought, and then I'm gonna let Mayo come in with that story. Uh, for me, when I first heard it about we could be our own worst enemy. At first, I thought it was blasphemous. I'm like, how can you ever say something like that? Why would my own somebody that look like me would say something like that? But then over the years, you know, getting up there in age, I start to see. I was like, I can see. But I think for me, the biggest issue when I hear that when they say that we can be our own worst enemy is that you got people who's in the black conscious movement, and then you got regular folk, as I would call them, who would say you gotta do this, you gotta do that, and not realizing their own flaws. Like I'm gonna use Umar Johnson for example. You got a lot of people that's still riding hard for him, but not realizing that this dude been raising money for how long? Going on 8 years for this
Still ain't
school,
built that school. Still
and
ain't
still
built that
ain't.
school.
And he got the school, but nothing else has happened. Where he had black contractors, he had black electricians, all saying, "Hey man, we will help you out with this school for free," and they heard nothing back from him at all. And so if I'm sitting there, I'm hoarding all this money for so many years, I know Chief's gonna be like, "Hey, Boris, I've been donating $20, and I want to know what's going on." And people not realizing that if I haven't, contact you back, you gonna think that this is a scam, and you will have every right to be because basically you are an investor, and the investor want to know what's going on and when I'm starting to get the return. And so for Umar on the black conscious side, people not going to question. Well, he do have a lot of people that's coming at him for that, but then you still got a lot of people that's riding hard for him, and he's still telling people what they should be doing. Now, if we go on to the regular black folks, who says hey, I gotta watch my All Star game. I gotta go to Gucci. I got to go to I gotta get my Bentley. I gotta go get my brand new Chevy Camaro, and like the individualism's like, man, you should be doing this, man. You shouldn't even be worrying about racism, white supremacy, and all that stuff. Just get yourself a business.
Just
Just
get
get
yours,
yourself a
man.
good family. Yeah, basically get yours. Get a nice ride, get a house, have a successful business, and you be straight. You be straight. It's telling people what they should and shouldn't be doing, rather than respecting where everybody is coming from, and just be like, look, here's some advice. And advice should be just like a deal. You take it or you leave it. But we got too many of our own people that's on different sides of the spectrum is telling other folks this is what you should be doing. You should be doing this. You should be doing that, and not realize that one person that's hearing this is like you turn them off. And that's where, for me, where we become our own worst enemy, and where we just forcing people. I'm not talking about the youngins growing up. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about people just like us, the impressionable minds that's trying to figure out, you know, me being a black man or a black woman in this country, and you get told on this end, this is what you should be doing. And you got on this side right here, you should be doing this. This is what going on. This is what you should be doing, rather than respecting that person. Like, look, I don't understand what's going on. Please help me understand before you start ramming down my throat what I shouldn't and should not be doing. And it's sad for me to believe that, because even with all that going on, there has been little progress that has helped us. Because as you can see, black men and black women are still being taken into custody like slaves, getting killed like dogs. We don't got too many black folks in politics in position for us to put out our struggles with the solutions and put it in law. And so for me, it's like, what's that old saying? And I know Chief said something about it because I brought it up. Is that coming to Jesus moment where we are at times can be our own worst enemy, because we sitting there telling each other what we should and should not be doing, rather than having the person to actually sit down with them and understand what they're up against, not only in just their community, but the whole United States and the world in general. And this is where I'm gonna have, before I go in. Anybody want to add a thought before I let Mayo come on in?
Bobby, teach.
No.
All right, cool. All right,
What's your
so man, go ahead, give your thought on that, about us being our own worst enemy, and then bring up that one guy that's running against the Michigan governor, actually in Teach's neck of the woods, about him wanting to tell people
cancel?
they can, yeah, counsel, and they don't have to celebrate Black History Month. I'm gonna go ahead and give the whole entire floor to you.
Well, I was gonna say, you said that like you're like, oh, anybody else want something to say? Because when Mayo get on, he's about to go ham.
Yeah,
We gonna get
Like you
yeah,
gonna go non-stop. You gonna go,
yeah,
you gonna start going. But I got you.
yeah.
I get passionate to the point where I get going. Sometimes it's hard to stop that semi when that semi get rolling on the highway. Anyways, but no, definitely about us being our own worst enemy. I think of many other ways. I will not think of it as because as you guys were talking, I guess I'll break my speaking within. I'll try to make it happen within 5 minutes or 3 minutes anyway. So and I'll break it into two. The first part is the response to what you guys were saying. The second part talk about this guy. I'll break it into two. The first part is just I think that um when you talk about being our own worst enemy, I don't think about the people who are criticizing. When I think about it, and I think most of us think of it like that, but because for me, the way I look at it is that there's a reason why they're criticizing most of the time, especially if they're criticizing the people who are actually selling us out. As you were talking earlier about how you mentioned we don't have enough black people in Congress. Oh, I believe we do. We just don't have enough there fighting for us. I mean, right now today, again, it's a stats that I was told, and I'm probably going to do a little more research on it, but I was told by a credible source who does work in Congress that today we as black people have the largest caucus in Congress. I mean, outside the Democratic caucus itself, and um, and the Republican caucus itself on both sides, the Senate and the House, that when it comes to progressive caucus, the gay caucus, the Hispanic caucus, that we have the largest caucus. I mean, they have all kind of caucuses. So, but we have so we have the largest body. The question is, the people that we have in there, are they just spook behind the door for us, or they just there just to get money, get their families what they got to get, and go home? And do we keep cheering them on like, oh, we got a black person? Oh Lord, I know them. Like, like I saw them at the store last week. Oh, what I mean, So do we keep doing that, or do we hold them accountable as we hold everybody else accountable? So, so the folks who are holding them accountable, for me to call them our worst enemy, no, I won't do that. I'll say that we are our worst enemy in the sense that, like, I'll repeat the quote that I heard from this OG, and I can never get over it. He said, we ask for a lot, but at the end of the day, we sell out and settle for a little. So I mean, and he's talking about how we as a community ask for a lot, but the ones that we get they get that will sell us out for just the smallest, you know. So and I think when I think about our own worst enemy, I think of that. Like like we we just allow folks to to do those things to us because we feel like that's at least one of us. At least I see a black face over there. It's better than not seeing one. No, we got to start digging deep and saying with folks who got in there, how can we keep them accountable? So, and I'm done with that whole if our worst enemy part. I think that when I think of worst enemy, I think of the case of the folks who represent us and how we give them too much of a slack. Sometimes after a while, they're more of a household name to us. We now follow them and make sure that we keep them popular. Pretty much as popular as they are, that's how much we follow them, and opposed to actually keep them accountable. And I'll leave that. Then now to this guy who I think is a moron. Um, there's a guy running for governor in Michigan on the Republican side. I just got off a call, which is supposed to be a nonpartisan call, and it is, because my frat and I chair a committee, voter registration, education, mobilization for the fraternity, and as we talked about just what happened in Georgia race and all that stuff, and I always like to remind them. I'm the one that always like to remind folks that hey, I ain't here to try to fight for the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. I have a position that I hold, and I do my work well as a central committee for the Democratic Party, and I do that job right. Right, but when I'm doing this, when it comes to anything that has to do with nonprofit organization, I want us to see if we can wake folks up so they can understand that we need to fight agents in both parties who are selling us out. I don't care what color they are. I don't care, like what are they doing and how's it impacting our life. We need to be beyond the optics. We've been giving the optics way too much. We need to be behind Nancy Pelosi get taking the knee and because George Floyd got killed, taking the knee and throwing her fist up. I'm like something that I know she probably would have no clue about it. If aid or someone of the other reps didn't tell her to do. We need to be beyond the optics. We need to find ways to educate our young men and women and everybody else how to be beyond the optics so they can know the issues. They can know which one of these offices they need to walk into and say, I need my contract too. I'm a contractor. I need my share of my contract. Because you black does not mean that you cannot give me what right now in Ohio is 15% participation level for black and minority contractors they're supposed to be. I know we don't hit that, and the reason why we don't hit that is because a lot of us don't put enough pressure on our government officials. Ask them what's going on. How come we don't see black minority contractors on the highway or on any of the buildings that are being built? And if they don't let them get away with excuses because if they say anything like the most excuse they always give it. This is the job that I had past year. The most excuse they always give us that we don't have enough people who have enough capacity. I mean, people they say we don't have enough people who have enough capacity. What they mean is that enough people can do the job. So what I tell them, why don't you build a program that make sure that we can get folks to do the job? Build a program, a training program that make sure that we can get enough folks who are minority, black, or Hispanic, whatever. Build enough program for them so they can build, they can have the capacity. Stop using those excuses. And these are folks that we elect, folks that some of them most often look like us. And we have people around areas that got jobs at McDonald's now, and they're raising their kids off McDonald's and Walmart jobs, $9, $10 an hour, which we know can't feed nobody today. When they can be doing a job, they can, construction industry is a lucrative industry. That's why I'm in it. I mean, when I feel, I mean, so but I wish the average brother and sister knows that instead of being like a water carrier for some elected person that's popular within the city they live in, who's selling them out every day in DC. I still believe that more than the racist, and I might be the only one at this, and I'll end with this, more than the racist reasons, the folks who stormed Congress on the other side they're mad about the same reason. They just caught on to it faster. That these folks who represent them too in those countries, that they like Mitch McConnell on them. I've been to Kentucky enough, one of the poorest states, one of the most poorest educational. So these folks are not only storming the Congress, talking about these folks are not. They're not only storming them because of the fact that we lost an election and we don't like black people. It's because they feel like Congress is not doing nothing for them. Some of them are poor and they're blaming it on us. They're blaming it on their own fellow citizens who are black or Hispanic, or all these people are coming in. No, don't blame it on us. That might be the mistake they're making. But what we're not realizing is that there's something that they're mad about, and we should be mad about too. That we're not getting optimum service by congressional members. Look at the what's what I'm looking for the like retirement Look at the retirement of Congress. Look at the benefit package. Look at all this stuff. Tell me who else in America that's working in the government that gets anything close to that. Nobody does. And nobody's in, and everybody's in there again. They allow themselves to be a fan of this person, a fan of that person. No, none of them is doing good enough unless somebody's like Bernie's, like who's hollering every day and saying that we are being unfair to the people. Those are the people that we should be pushing. And the ones who are not saying that or who are not acting like that when they're in the chambers, we should vote them out.
Yeah.
So I yield, but I think that's more the reason why people are pissed off at their own lifestyle, knowing that they ain't got nothing, even though they're in the country. And I think we should be that pissed. I'm not recommending we go to the Capitol because we're gonna get shot at real quick when we get there. But we should be as pissed as they are. That's what I'm saying. But I yield.
But going back to what you were saying about this governor.
Sorry, the moron. I don't got carried away. I'm sorry. Yeah. So anyway, he
Yeah.
said he want to abolish Black History Month. He's a fool. He's a buffoon. I mean, I think he's doing that because he's trying to be popular. When you are nobody in politics, as I've ran 3 times, you got to say something that's controversial. The mainstream media is not going to cover you. You can see that we're talking about him now. You got it. So this is his technique of first of all, he's on the Republican side, so he's a black man, an immigrant of maybe first or second generation. If he's not an immigrant, he's the son of an immigrant. So he got so much stacked against him. I'm not saying I don't know him. I'm not, but the only thing I can think of is like he's trying to catch somebody to be like, who is this guy? And that's how he gets elected because of popularity. I mean, Donald Trump did not have to do too much because everybody knew who Donald Trump was when he ran the first time. He didn't need to get popular. Most politicians want to get popular so they can get their name out there so somebody can find out what they're running about. And America is about what's okay. My last thing, when you run for office in America, unfortunately today, it's not who has the most facts or who has the most ideas. And unfortunately, those are things it should be about. It's who's most popular on election day. Because people go to the polls, they have all these names they say on there. To them, it's just like who do I know? The name that rings a bell to them, the name they know. Oh, I know that guy. It makes them feel like they're part of it. And until we start to educate people to wake up outside that. So this guy knows the science of election. He said, let me get popular. So he's saying dumb things. I can't imagine him really thinking that he wants to get rid of Black History Month and he has any good reasons to do it.
That's funny.
All right. So
Well,
yeah, go ahead,
let me
Teach.
chime in because I posted that on my page and I posted it in the group for us to talk about it. And for me, what Bayo said, it may be correct, that shock effect, but choosing to say I'm going to cancel Black History Month, it may be shocking and it's getting us to talk about it, but I don't think that's going to garner him the black vote. If anything, he would get the white supremacist vote or the All Lives Matters vote. And we see when they voted this last term for Trump, he didn't win. So that for me, it was a losing shock appeal if that's the way he want to get his name out there. And then my second point is for him to make that statement. I believe he's second generation immigrant. His parents are from Nigeria. He grew up here in the States. He's disassociated with what even Black history means. And for him to make the statement that he want to cancel Black History Month because he thinks that it's illegal and that he want to emphasize American history tells me that he never took an American history class. He has never taken an Asian history class. He's never taken a Native American history class. He has never taken an African American class. Because in America, white history primarily deals with the valorization of conquering this land to become America.
Right.
And it does not treat or look into what is called history from below. Any history outside of American history is categorized as history from below. And that's why we have all these specialized histories. You really have to take a Native American history class to understand the plight of the Native Americans from their perspective. Because in American history, you'll hear about the Indian Removal Act. You hear about the Trail of Tears from the government's perspective. You won't hear about how so many people died on those Trail of Tears in American history. What you'll hear in American history is that, oh, we gave them X number of days to move out of their territory and into the Midwest and West. You'll hear about the 5 civilized tribes. Why were 5 out of hundreds of Native American tribes, why were only 5 civilized? So that means that the others were uncivilized. Why were they called uncivilized? They were called uncivilized because they refused to bow down and give up their culture under Americanism or colonialism. Okay? So America has specialized history. If you want to know about any other racial group and their historical time in America, you have to study that group. And that's the first basis of history in America. And obviously, he never took a history class, or if he did, it was not a well-constructed history class, because that's the first thing that you learn. American history is simply white history, white domination, in acquiring this land and becoming the United States of America. African American history gives voice to the plight of the African Americans, and it deals with the laws and the structures that was handed out and meted through our government. The same thing with Native American history. It deals with the laws. A lot of people don't even know that we as African Americans became citizens in this country before the Native Americans became citizens in this country. And it's their land. But you're not going to learn that in American history. So he speaks out of utter ignorance. Utter ignorance. Okay. And for him, I don't even mean by lack of knowledge. I mean by stupidity. So intentional. So if he wanted to shock appeal, yes, he got it. If he wanted to lose the black vote, yes, he got it. And I don't even know. Well, I think it depends on how much Kool-Aid of the Republican Party that you have drank, that as a black Republican, that you would agree with him. If you are drunk off of that Republican Kool-Aid, you would agree with him. If you just had a few sips of that Republican Kool-Aid, you may not agree with him, because it's utter foolishness. Because why was Black History Month or Black History Week, which began in 1926 by Carter G. Woodson, why was it even, why did he feel the need to do that? He felt the need to do it because white history totally dismissed, did not discuss anything pertaining to the African Americans. So that was a rise of our voice for us to communicate once a week. For a week, for once a year, to say, hey, Black people have a genius. Black people have an intelligentsia. And during Black History Week, we will highlight notable people that we know as a race, that our race matters and our people matters, and their contribution to society greatly matters. That's why Black History Week was created. And then in the 1970s, it was changed over to Black History Month through a demonstration of the students at Kent State University in Ohio. They said 1 week is not long enough. We need to celebrate all month long. And it has evolved since then and over to being African History Month, where countries in Africa are celebrating their notable people, giving rise and awareness of their African genius.
We getting some
So,
feedback. Sorry about
so
that.
you can see that I'm really heated on this deal.
Yeah, I know.
I don't see him being successful with that tagline. That may have got him in the limelight, and maybe he can backtrack and say, I was delirious. I just had too many sips of the Republican Kool-Aid, and
Yeah,
then
For his own
I
good
can
reason.
denounce. I can denounce my stupidity, and yeah, I don't know. I don't
yeah.
know.
I think I'm gonna step in here because I know Mayo had something to say, but I think Whitmore is gonna, even with him, without him making that comment, I believe Whitmore will watch this dude in the governor election. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
She gonna wipe the floor with him. I only think it makes it worse. But for me, this is my issue when it comes to black people that thinks this way. And I think our biggest problem is we give too many of these folks a pass. Because I always say on the show, I mean, it's great to have your own view, but if it's detrimental to our people, I have an issue with that. I have a problem with that. I think Teach probably touched on it a little bit earlier in the show. Um, for I'm talking about like the Brandon Tatums of the world that every time when something happens to black people, they always have to come up with an excuse on it's our fault. It's our fault.
Yeah.
If we knew it, if we should have knew better what we did, it wouldn't have happened. Comply, comply, comply. Like the police can't do no wrong, but when it's a black person doing it, it's all on us. It's why we put ourselves in that situation and not understanding we don't put ourselves in this situation. Sometimes I do believe that people just mess with us because we're black, because they know that we're forgiving people. I think of any culture on this freaking planet, and I mean that on this freaking planet that follows the law by the letter, it's us. I put that against any other culture, including white folks. We the ones that follow it to the letter, but we still get killed, even if we know the laws like the back of our hand. Please tell me, all these people that can call themselves like the constitutionalists, and they follow anything that's in the Constitution? I don't even have to read
I don't
like a
believe
little
so.
bit, and then think about it, even with the little bit of the Constitution, and majority of people have even read it, is following it. They are black.
Well, that's why the Native Americans said the white man speak with a forked tongue. He's going to draft a program for you, and you have to follow it. The rules that were created is not the rules that he's going to follow,
Hmm.
because in his
Mhm.
mind, all rules are meant to be broken.
Yeah, and
So
Exactly.
yeah,
you the one take it to heart. You the one say, okay, this is the law, and I'm gonna follow the letter of the law. That's you and your thinking. But the ones that created it, no, they're not even above the law. It's like we just do what we want to do, but we're gonna create a
and,
framework for you to operate in because that controls you.
and it
We're
goes
uncontrollable. We're
and
not
goes
subject to be controlled.
and to go along with that, teachers, then that's what I had the problems with the black folks that sit there and they believe that garbage, and they will sit there and say, if you would know understand the layers of the law, you won't be doing it. You gotta understand the law. It may vary from different states to states, but you gotta understand the law. And you be like, I don't even have to read the law to let you know that I'm following the law. I could be just doing the speed limit, and then all of a sudden I get pulled over for absolutely no reason. Like with
I think you're
yeah,
changing the subject.
mhm,
Right, right,
Let's talk
right, right.
about
Yeah,
something
no, no,
else.
no. I wanted to jump back on it real quick, but
yeah, go ahead, man.
so and the one thing that you said that, but the said, oh, like Whitmer's gonna beat him, this that. But what if this is what he's doing? And I'm just thinking again out loud, like What if he did this just to get everybody's attention? The next minute he outflanks Whitmore on some progressive issue or 3 or 4 progressive issues that that you again I'm just saying because
I,
he's a black man. Hold on, it is a black man. What if he comes
no,
in and
no.
outdoes Whitmore on some progressive issues?
Mayo, you give him too
Mm.
much credit there. That's just give him too much credit. See this also my issue too. Every and that like what's that one movie? Off of Scarface. Um, Tony Montana was right when he said this. Every dog has his day. I get it. Trump proved that. Every dog has his day. He got presidency. But with this case right here, no. And then also the with them being a brother or a sister, like I said about Candace Owens, if she was on the side of the sidewalk, I don't care if her car broke down on the side of the sidewalk. I'm gonna keep on driving. Period.
Okay.
I understand, but
This is the thing. Look at the dynamics in Detroit. Look at what happened in the last election. Detroit has the largest black population in the whole state.
Yeah.
And they said what? Detroit turned Michigan. Detroit itself turned Michigan so much so that they had to file a lawsuit and try to claim that there was voter fraud in Detroit because Detroit turned Michigan. Detroiters love what we call Big Gretch. This man come in alienating Detroit. He coming. There's no way he can win Michigan. No way possible. He just counted himself out.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly, if I was to be picking, I'll pick with y'all. What I'm just saying to you is that the idea that it's so early in the race that he can be so out in the race. I mean, this is what Clinton did and got both sides to the point. Both sides thing. Like he was their guy in the 90s. I mean, when he came in, I think 92 or 90. I mean, the whole thing about playing both sides and trying to say, well, who's to know? I mean, it's not like Michigan is not elected. There's a guy. I don't know if it's a congressman or a senator. He ran for senator, like last black guy. He actually might be a senator right now, U.S. senator in Detroit, or not in Detroit, but in Michigan. Maybe he lost, but I know he ran in general. I was, 2000 maybe 18 general election. He might have lost, but the fact that he was able to run in a general election, I'm like, whoa! And he was on the Republican side. And this not this guy, was a black guy that ran. I forgot what. Maybe he's actually still holding office, but there was a black guy that ran, and I'm like, whoa, So I didn't black Republicans like this in Detroit, because I was so surprised. I mean, like in Michigan, where this guy could have actually made it through the primaries, and so when you think about how we think, oh, maybe like white folks ain't gonna vote for him, because like that's what you're saying, right?
No, I'm saying the white folks can vote for him, which the white folks did vote for Trump, but it was the black folks that voted for Biden that won Michigan. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying the number of black folks outweigh the number of white folks. So if he come in alienating the black folks, yes, he could get that white vote, but it's still not enough to beat the black vote.
And I get that, but
that's what I'm saying.
I actually agree with you. I was just in the sense of who has more votes. What I'm saying is that the idea that you think that he cannot manipulate any of that black vote is what I disagree with. That he just said this is his first greetings. His first greetings is horrible. I mean, if it's true that first impression is always last, then he's in trouble. But if he can find a way, I mean, I'm just saying that is there an opportunity that he can have if he can find a way to maneuver himself left of Gretchen in some kind of issue, and he got people thinking, oh man, like this Republican one of the first time black guy, he's doing this. Before you know, it might get some black folks, who might be weak on, to get on this side. You just never know. I'm just saying it's too early to call. That's what I'm saying.
Canceling a nationally recognized and governmental allowed holiday is just stupid. I don't care what color or nationality or ethnicity you are. This is America. This is the melting pot, the cultural hotspot. Everybody get theirs. I don't care where you came from. Your home has a day, has a time frame in American time where you are allowed to show love and show your heritage. Why the hell would I stop that?
Yeah, I mean, that beats me.
Why would I even? I
See,
want people to listen to how stupid it is, because we've been doing this. We've had this holiday for almost 100 years now as Black people in America. And this is the first time I've ever heard anybody even formulate that thought and try to make it make sense.
Now,
he's speaking
Just
directly to white supremacy. He's speaking directly to Trump supporters,
yeah,
people that would think
he
along that
pillow
way.
talking.
Yeah, get rid of that because get rid of them because they think they special. Yeah, it's illegal. This is a special target group. Yes, he's listening specifically. I mean, his listening audience is white supremacists. They would buy into that, but
see, yeah. Go ahead, teach. I'm sorry, I ain't mean to cut
but
you
if you get rid of a Black History Month, then you want to get rid of Cinco de Mayo. You want to get rid of what happened in March,
Puerto
Irish.
Rican Day Parade, St. Patty's Day,
Yeah, St. Patrick's Day. You want to get rid of all the ethnic
Yom
holidays.
Kippur,
And to further
Ramadan,
this, there's something
Hanukkah.
else. To
Right,
further this, there's something else
exactly.
that he's doing that is kind of weird because, this is part I put in the chat. What he's doing is seemingly like divisive between our community because the way he's describing it is almost like, oh, these people like he's not black.
Well,
Like
he is being divisive.
what
He is being very divisive, just for the
because
simple fact
yeah.
that you're making the statement toward your demographic. If
right,
my
but I'm saying,
demographic is 18 to 34, and I'm making a statement that only applies to men between the ages of 18 and 34, doesn't matter what every other demographic hears. It's that particular demographic that's going to take it to heart. They're going to hear something different.
well, I'm even
Right.
going deeper. What I'm saying is that for so long, there has been a segment of our community, on all sides, and I mean like all sides, meaning like like there's a lot of division within us that we've worked on because everybody has come try to be like, hey, let's come together and understand that we're all black and we're going to be dealing with black issues together. So why, and we talked about the, what's it called, the ADOS, whatever. He seems to be building, well, not building. If they, I don't know if there is. I doubt if there is, but there might be fragment. I know there's not. There are fragments of people who are on the other side of ADOS who are like, like, oh, I ain't black. I'm not whatever. I'm African. Whatever. I mean, he sounds like he's putting that sentiment out there, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
That
he's saying I'm
yeah,
not an African American.
Yeah.
I'm a
right,
descendant of Nigeria. I don't
right,
have the American experience. I'm not part of those people. I'm a different
right.
kind of black man.
Well, see,
Yes,
you
he's
know what?
having that dissonance from the community in which he's hoping to get votes from,
All right.
and he's
Yeah.
alienating himself.
Let me step.
So
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm let you finish your point. Teach. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm let you finish your point.
I just want to bring out that
yeah,
little.
so he's distancing himself, saying, "I'm not the average African American. I'm not the average
Right, right,
black folks. I don't have the history of slavery. I come from Nigeria,
right,
and you
right.
see, there were several Nigerians just elected in our government. So I just want to
I
let you
was about to
know
make the
I'm
statement.
not like
Yeah.
those black folks that was born on this soil. So elect me because I think white."
All
Yeah,
right. So
right.
so let me. I'm gonna use for the first time ever on this show. I'm gonna use my host privilege on this one. Let me go ahead. I'm putting it down. So going off with all that's been said, and then also you, Mayo. This is the biggest issue to me. This is me with black folks when it comes to people that just like this individual.
Mm-hmm.
To your point of what happens if he is more left or more progressive on issues than the mayor. That's the con game that I don't. We need to stop falling under. I like to go by a thing called a track record. Now, even with the track record, I can believe that people can change. I believe that wholeheartedly. But if you're going to use that to get leverage on somebody and you don't have a track record in what you're saying, that's when I have an issue. So when you have people, I'm gonna use his name again, like a Brandon Tatum, if he has a point on something, yeah, I agree, but it still doesn't take my mind away that you're still a coon. That I know that if there was a civil war today, you're gonna try to jump on the other side and fight. Simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to sit there and give you the benefit of the
Who's
doubt
Brandon
because
Tatum? Who's that?
Brand Taylor, he's that one YouTuber, conservative YouTuber, that's an ex-cop that always tried to explain all these cases and say that
Oh,
it's black people's fault. So I'm using him as an example because I've been using what's her face like forever, and I wanted to use somebody else. But what I'm saying is, if you've been hearing me throwing your name, Mayo, let's say we run against each other,
what?
but let's say that you're weak on guns. You say that on guns, I don't own a gun, so I wouldn't know what to do with that, but I'm saying that we should have gun control.
What?
But the rest of my platform is, well, black people, we need to stop blaming the white man. We need to start doing some stuff on our own. We need to stop going out here and burn down our communities and all that stuff. Why should anybody trust me just because of that one point? That one point that I was correct, that I was right on. Why should people just look at that entirely without seeing my body of work and my track record
You
that
know
goes
why?
against us?
You know why? Because as black people, the church has taught us to have blind faith and hope that the positivity that we feel for this individual is true. Because as you're making this description, all I hear is the same conversation most women have with their homegirls about that piece of shit nigga. Girl, you
Yeah.
need to leave that nigga alone. He cheated on you. He smoked crack in your house. He done stole your car 15 times. But he loves me. How he love you when he done got your mama pregnant? But he loved me. Bitch, he just broke your nose. But that he love you don't work. That
Yeah.
one little point ain't helping the situation. I
I
it's
think,
bull.
yeah. Oh, yeah. You used to have some in and out issues, but yeah, I just
We
want
good now?
to, yeah, you good. Yeah, I just wanted to just step on that point because I think we fall into that way too much. Um, once again, it's funny. Everything circling back to what Cheech been saying on the past shows, but it goes back to what she's saying. I just lost the thought.
But
It's
let
your
me
body.
let me
Yeah, go
finish.
ahead. T.
You're too young
Um,
to be losing thoughts now, but go ahead.
Mhm.
right, but it happens. But I just want to also say that that self-hatred paradigm, for me, his statement was a clear statement of a person that is not rooted and grounded in his self-identity. He's willing to
Agreed.
sell off
Mhm.
other people because he sees us as other people. He's willing to sell off other people to climb what he think is um, his ladder to his success in government. He wants to be the governor of the state, and he has high aspirations, and he could use us as a stepping stone. And he thinks by aligning himself with white philosophy and ideology and oppressive methods, it could get him where white people are adoring him and get him where he wants to go, instead of realizing that if in fact it was in his stars, in his destiny to be governor, he can run a forthright campaign and get that same seat. So I personally don't see success, but I'm not God. um that's just my personal opinion. I would not like to. I don't know anybody in my neighborhood of this city, well, except for a few that are Republican, they might get behind him and be like Mayo, be in that gray neutral area and want to see what he's about and want to see what he want to do and push him forward, and put their energies behind it, may even influence other people to go behind him. But I still see those numbers as very small. I think it is, to me, that's a high crime and a misdemeanor.
Well,
It's just a high crime.
Go
let
ahead,
me
Mayo.
make
Go
it
ahead,
straight.
Mayo.
Let me make the record straight. I'm not getting behind him or pushing anybody
But you
behind
do bring
him.
up a point, Mayo. But you do bring up.
What I'm
But did you
saying
do
is
bring
that
your
Now
what
I'm
I'm
just saying how
saying,
you give the benefit of the doubt.
right?
To
yeah?
Well,
me,
I
there's
give
no benefit. There
Yeah,
is no doubt.
not
no,
me
no, no,
here.
no, no.
It's more.
I
It's
do, I
more. It's
do.
more doubt than benefit.
No, what I do is I always just tell a friend of mine yesterday, I don't like when I hear somebody say never, or I don't like to hear never because and it's similar to this. I think it's just too early to determine like we're gonna put out everything. I think that everything should be re-evaluated. Everything. I never. Oh, I see that one. I'm running today. I think that what part of our mistake is we do that a lot. We get that knee-jerk reaction. Oh, and like I said, I don't think I can see anything good out of this brother because the reason why I even probably despise some. I wouldn't even say despise him, but despise some more. Most of what I've heard from him so far is the divisiveness. That's the one that irks me the most. Like his comments explaining why he wants Black history. Like the fact that he don't see himself as one of us all. That he wants to separate himself. That's the part that's fooling me the most. But I'm also saying I'm looking at what is there anything in life that we think that once we hit one thing that's racial that can give us a space where we can be like, well, I'm still willing to hear more, or like I'm gonna allow myself to hear more from anybody. Anybody in life. If they did one thing to cross us, and how if we start finding out that maybe everybody that's running has done something to cross us, when do we start to see like maybe we need to like look at both sides of opposed to just zero in on one? Because like that's what Trump did. I think Trump came out super hard on us in the sense of racial issues and started saying all these dumb things, and we locked in like anything but Trump. So now meaning that it could be the systemic racism all day but Trump. So I'm just saying that I'm not saying that anybody should sit there and be thinking like, oh, this guy might have some good things to say. But I just think that if he says something, don't be close ear to what he's saying. Even you might have your place where I think that he's a moron, but I'm still gonna listen to what the hell he got to say. I mean, just to hear what he's saying. I just feel like people should be like that, and you don't know, some people might be like that, not because they want to vote for him, but just to hear what the hell he's gonna say. Because we just seem to be always like, like, oh, I hear that, I'm out. It's like that first, again, because it's emotional to us. I'm emotional to the fact the divisiveness. Not only the Black History Month, Carter G. Wisdom, my friend, brother, I was saying earlier, I mean, all the things that we've done. I mean, Uncle's Garbage Day, when we started that in Columbus here, I was starting it. I mean, to think that we don't even have enough Black history being said, and these morons are saying this, but how emotional do I get to the point where I just like, oh, well, I mean, because he's already, for someone like myself, there's no way he was going to get my support anyway, because, he's already a Republican. And we got, Whitmore, which I seem like, she's doing I don't know what's going on in Michigan, but, outside your insurance over there, like I hear, like it's very horrible, she's doing great, So, I mean, my thing is just, you still want to hear all sides before, and I feel like we don't do that. We feel like, like, you show me one thing, oh, it's a wrap. And the ones that's not showing us, but it might be doing us in the back, we slip at them all day. And that's what let's sit down and hear them out before we make decisions. Let's make decisions at the last minute. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
I got you. Before we go into the segments, and Cheech, we're going to do your segment first. But any final thoughts on this? Any final points? I'm sorry, Cheech. You went last time.
Now, I would just like to say that, I say it all the time. I said it several times. W.B. Du Bois talked about reconciling the two selves, one of being American, one of being a Negro. And whenever we put ourselves in leadership positions, that comes up and that becomes an issue. Either you side to continue to be that Negro and fight and champion the Negro cause, or you choose to be an American. And in this case, being American means that you are against the Negro cause. And that's
Mm.
it.
What about you, Beast?
Just because you speak for me does not mean you speak for me.
Mm.
You got a lot of these boys out here that think because I look like you and I'm projecting the perception of a evolved version of what you could be, that there's merit into my words. The hood version is I'm not gonna listen to no nigga that don't know who he really is. How you gonna speak for me and us when you don't know who you are?
Good point. With that, we're gonna take this commercial break and teach. We're gonna travel to Africa, and we will be right back.
Yamala. Hello. Greetings from the people in Cameroon. We're 17 days before we launch our trip. I take it for granted. I am on my third passport, and God has blessed me to fill up two passport books. And like I said, I'm on my third. But how many of you in the viewing audience actually have your passport? Who is passport ready? I think in this day and age, everyone should have a passport to give themselves that experiential knowledge of self by traveling abroad. When you travel abroad, you actually learn more about yourself than you do about other people because it gives you a contrast. I happen to be born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, which is on the border of Canada. And when we were young and when I was in high school, we had our high school dance in Canada. That was the special thing to do. We could just go across the bridge or go through the tunnel and have our activities in a foreign country. And it was only 5 minutes away. If you ever been to Detroit, you can stand on the Detroit River and actually look into Canada. And we've done many joint events in the summertime for the fireworks show and different things. So we could easily go back and forth to Canada. But after 911, you had to begin to have your passport just to go to Canada. So my question is to you, do you have your passport? And do you know what it takes besides purchasing a ticket to actually travel internationally? Well, this segment, we're going to talk about passports and visas. First thing, as a United States citizen, you would need a passport. That passport will allow you to be able to travel across the border into Canada, into Mexico. They have something what's called a passport card, which looks like a driver's license, and that will allow you to travel by land into Mexico and into Canada. But then you have the book passport, which allow you to travel overseas through air and through sea. And in most European countries and South Africa, the United States has an agreement that no visa is required. But other countries of the world, a visa is required. And what a visa is, it's a acknowledged document that's attached to your passport. And usually you acquire the visa through a U.S. embassy of the particular country that you intend to travel. And this is a way that each country have an idea of who is coming in and out of their country. And sometimes the time, length of time of your visa will vary depending on the country. Most times they will grant you 30 days, 6 months, or a year, sometimes 2 years, and sometimes 10 years. And there's different categories of visa. But most often you will get a tourist visa to go into the various countries that you may attend. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I'm having trouble with my visa into Cameroon. We're dealing with many problems. One, with the mail system in Washington, D.C., it was noted about a week ago that in Washington, D.C., where the embassy of Cameroon is located, that 1,600 postal workers are out sick because of the COVID. So that means that the mail is moving excessively slow. And I sent off my visa the 31st of January, and usually within a week, I would have it back. But as you see, that I'm into the third week now, and it has not returned. So the organizing committee in Cameroon have decided to contact the ambassador of Cameroon in America to make sure that my visa is processed and returned back to me, that I may be able to make that flight. So having said all that, whenever you're planning an international trip, you always want to allow extra time for the processing of your visa, because most times if you live outside of Washington, D.C., you're dealing with a mail-in situation where you have to mail off your passport to that particular embassy, get your visa stamp, and then they will mail it back to you. So you want to allow ample time for it to be transmitted to the embassy, and give the embassy time to work on your visa, and then time for you to receive it back in the mail well before your flight. Because the last thing you want to do is to pay for a trip and come to the day of, you don't have your visa. Well, one, if you don't have your visa, Cameroon specifically does not allow you to apply for visa on arrival. So now the airlines will check and make sure before you start the first leg of your trip that you have your visa. It has to be stamped and approved by the embassy before they will allow you to proceed to the gate, actually before they give you your boarding pass. So it's important to make sure you get your documentation in a timely manner in order to be able to make your trip. The second thing is your immunizations. It's very important to know what immunizations are required for the country that you're entering. And most times it's for your own safety. Today in this pandemic, I hear rumors that they may make it mandatory that you take the vaccine in order to do international travel, the coronavirus vaccine. So if you're considering worldwide travel, one, get your passport. It's only a little over $100. It's something you can gift to yourself. And then pick a country. We talked about doing your DNA the last time. So do your DNA and let your DNA tell you which countries that you should visit first. Many people say, well, where do I go? I've heard about Ghana, but there's countries like Nigeria, there's countries like Angola, the Congo, Guinea-Bissau, Senegal, the Gambia. We come from different parts of Africa. You may not even have any DNA in Ghana, it may not even relate to any of the people in Ghana, but you will love it just the same. But why not get your DNA, look at where you had a predominant gene, and go to that country, go and reconnect with your people. As I say, that would be your Sankofa. Sankofa means to go back and pick up the gems of the past. So when you do your DNA and get your results, that is your Sankofa to get your passport and go back to your motherland and talk to your relatives and the descendants of those that have your DNA. And that is my presentation for the African Roots and Heritage Study Travels.
Good evening. I want to talk about the big homies, talk about the OGs, talk about the folk in the community that actually are vital to the community. Now, what really is an OG? What really is big homie? Because when most of y'all hear these terms, y'all think gang related. And though this vernacular has been adapted to the gang culture, that's not where it comes from. And that's not really what it's about. Your OG, your big homie, is that well-respected individual amongst your set, in your community, who is one part respected and revered, while on the other side hated and somewhat feared. This is the type of person, in so many words, was a gangster. They be out there helping the kids during the summer when it's hot, be the all-star quarterback or pitcher for the kids when they want to play sports, buy the little kids snacks and ices from the candy lady, help your mom and any other mother bring in groceries, chill out there with the pops and the rest of the brothers late night, shooting the breeze. But Lord forbid something come into that neighborhood that was unknown. Lord forbid the individual walk into that neighborhood that was unknown. Lord forbid any type of situation transpire in the community and information was required. Oh, I can guarantee you, the big homie, the OG, they gonna know what's going on. And if they don't, it says one or two things. They really ain't the big homie or the OG, or they was part of what went down. And then they ain't the big homie or OG. We as black folk got to get back to that elder statesman mentality of our community. Because that's all the big homie and the OG is. Community elders. They was the folk out here that you knew, if need be, will go out here and defend the community. They had that energy, they had that skill set. But for the most part, they just wanted to chill, see everybody live and enjoy their life. They were smart enough to have lived through this life to be able to pass down wisdom and experience to the next generation. And we're severely lacking that right now. We got this individualized mentality now that if I don't know it or I can't find it myself, then that information doesn't exist. And any information that another person gives me is subject to be faulty. I'm happy that my story earlier inspired someone and got to show them that the hood really ain't that bad. And you'll actually see more good natured individuals, more kind hearted people in some of the most financially inaccessible or visually unappealing areas. No matter how much money you got or where you stay at, it don't matter how many fights you done been in, how many years in prison you done did. Being the big homie, being the OG is being there for the neighbors, being there for your family, for your peoples when it's called upon, without a second guess, without a second thought. That's really what it means to be the big homie. It's all cool when the kids and the people's like, hey, that's the big homie right there. Yeah, it's cool to get that type of notoriety and esteem. But what happens when they banging on your door at 2, 3 in the morning because the situation done popped off and now they really do need the big homie? Are you gonna help turn the situation positive and end on a somewhat comfortable note, or are you gonna help escalate it and turn it into something that's out of all y'all control? So if you know any big homies, any OGs in your neighborhood, really question them on what they're doing. If you yourself consider yourself to be a big homie or OG, I ask you, what are you really doing for your community to help them? And if you're doing what you're supposed to for your community, well then, I salute you, big homie. I salute you, true OGs. Thank you for stopping by my community. I hope you enjoyed the talk. Feel free to come on back another time.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, time is of the essence. So, final point. We're just gonna do a quick one. I'm gonna start with Mayo. What is your final point for tonight?
Final point is it should be easy, and so I'm gonna make it easy tonight. Is for us to try to just think deeper into every decision that we make. Never make it too simple for people to predict us. Uh, you know, uh, be more. It, make sure you. I'm trying to think what to use. Make sure you exhaust all options in your mind before you make decisions. And boy, we understand that sometimes when you make that decision, what you do, what you say, can come back and bite you in the butt. I think that it's just something that we got to do more. And the last part of it is that the primary election is the biggest election. Primary election and also the local elections. That's when you have the most options. Always try to go if you regardless of what party you're in, Democrat, Republican, and yes, to the few black folks who are in the Republican Party, make sure you look at all your options because the most grassroots people are the ones that get weeded out in primaries because we don't take primaries serious. So I was on a call tonight, and that was one of the things that we talked about is how can we get Americans to believe again, or not to believe again, but to realize that the primary election is the most important election, and that's where most of our options are cut down. Then we get to general election, it's like, oh look what we left out. Who left this with? Who left us to this? So it's your option right now. It's your chance to really pick the best out of all the options you have right now. Take time to pick them.
Okay, Beast.
Um, in order to speak up for us, you must know who you are.
Oh.
Leave it at that.
Knowledge of self. If you refuse history, you refuse yourself.
My final point is if they say who they are, believe them.
Believe them.
Believe them. It doesn't matter if you're black, you're white, or anything like that. If they believe that we are our own worst enemy, believe them. If they believe that making the business is gonna make all your problems go away, believe them. If they believe that Jesus Christ is their Lord and Savior, believe them.
Mhm.
So can't like that. Also, another old saying goes: a leopard can't change the spots. Um, and that will do it for us. We will be back on Wednesday, and I'll be in a better place. We had a 4 day, so forgive me, y'all. But other than
Yeah.
that, I will see each and every one of y'all on Wednesday. I will be updating our network. Don't forget, we got a wet network, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead and tune in. I'm gonna advertise that much more on the show, much, but I haven't did on this one. But other than that, as for Peace Johnson, Mayo, Anita Joe, aka Teach, and me as your host, Donnell Lamonte Morris. Thank you for tuning to another edition of installment of hashtag Fade to Black. Thank y'all so very much. Y'all have a good one. See y'all on Wednesday. Bye, y'all.
All
Peace.
right.
Y'all
Bye
later.
bye. Good night.
Hey,